Okay, we're beginning our London tour. This is Friends of the Word, the cultural aspects of Friends of the Word. And we are in London at the Tower of London, where the great jewels of the Queen and many, many aspects of English history are on exhibit. We'll tour some sections of the tower and introduce you here and there as we go along this very beautiful city, London. We're in London City of London. It's a special area of London. We'll be back.
And that was built on the orders of William the Conqueror, because when he came over and conquered Britain, what he didn't do is conquer everything that is behind you, which is the City of London. Because if you conquer a country, you don't upset trade, because what you want is trade to keep making you the money. So he forms a peace treaty with the city, but he builds the tower just to make sure they understand who's in charge. And if you think of the Shard, you can see that's what it would have looked like to local people, because they would have lived in one story and suddenly you had this huge tower, so very imposing. And it is an arrow shot away from the city. So we will say there's lots of little markers, but it's literally an arrow shot away, so just outside the City of London. And you can then see, when you look at the tower, the different coloured bricks, and you can see that it's been added to over the years. What you have is one of the major developments was in 1240, the wall with the black drain pipes. This was built by Henry III. Henry III is the king we call the Builder King, because he does a lot of building. And then his son, in 1290s, builds the wall with the white drain pipes. And so what we actually have is a wall that goes all the way around, but two of them, so it's a concentric castle. A castle with two outer walls, so very defensive. You always have a land entrance and a water entrance. Safest way of travelling is by water. Straight in front, the tower, that D-shaped tower that sticks out with the white lines coming down. This is the land entrance of Henry III. When his son builds the wall, it becomes defunct. And his son, Edward I's land entrance, was once three towers. Where the gift shop is, there was another tower. So you have the middle tower and the byword tower. And byword, it means password. And you never speak a password, because you don't want someone to know, which is why you have it on a piece of paper and you pass it to someone, because you never speak, you don't want anyone to ever hear it. And then we come a little bit closer, we can see the moat. We have the moat going all the way around. Was filled with water from the Thames. The trouble with that is we relied on the natural tides, and what we used to end up with all the effluents in the Thames. They used to just wash all the rubbish in. So in the 1800s, the Duke of Wellington, who was then the constable of the tower, ordered the water removed because it was given as cholera, which wasn't great for public health. But we have the moat here today. You can see they're returfing it. We've had some of the graduation celebrations for the students. They put a marquee up. And in winter, we have ice skating down here. They put up an ice skating rink. And it's lovely. On a Sunday morning, if you come here and the mist is lifting, it's really quite magical. We're not great at ice skating, but we all try. Last winter, it just wasn't cold enough, and we had a big puddle here. You have to imagine this was the only tower here at this stage. There weren't any walls. And he ties the rope to the window, shimmies down. Notice the columns on the top. There's columns on the top level and the bottom, so you have that shape of the church we're going to see inside. The carving is all done by a man called Francis Bird. And what Wren does is he has a team of craftsmen who owe their loyalties to him. And that's one of the ways he gets away with building this church. Because they all owe that. I'll tell you more when we sit down inside. We're going to go up the fire staircase over there and into the church. There is no filming inside. So we have the multicoloured tulips. The memorial in the centre of the road is the Queen Victoria Memorial. That is gold leaf on the top. And Queen Victoria is there because she was the first monarch to live in Buckingham Palace. And that was because Prince Albert sorted out the damp and the problem with the servants, who apparently weren't doing what they were supposed to.
Oh.
So he was the man who sorted it out.
Oh.
But the Buckingham Palace was owned by Charles II. He managed to get the house off his top floor and then called it.
He's off to the dismount and the changing of the guards, so we're going to speed it along.
Harry Potter. That's where they go in the Muggles entrance
Yes.
with the phone box. So in the green roofs is the Ministry of Defence or the Ministry of Magic in Harry Potter.
Right, that's true. We are moving toward the changing of the guard. This is the carriage house where all of the horses, the Queen's horses, hang out. Here we are at the Royal Dismount, one time a day at 4 o'clock.
What you've got is the horses are now.
Hold on 1 second. Let go.
Yeah.
That's this.
Ooh.
That's it. That's close enough.
So what you've got is the two horses that have come off duty, standing to attention, and now we're going to have the other guards who've been on duty. They do an hour on and 2 hours off, coming out to be inspected to be discharged.
Big Ben, hidden behind the trees. The clock tower of Westminster Abbey.
Heading toward Trafalgar Square.
Trafalgar Square and Westminster Abbey.
A better view of Westminster Abbey.
House of Lords. 50 elected members of Parliament, 790 unelected members of the House of Lords. It's our checks and balances. Legislation can start in either house, but the Commons is the ultimate decider. So the Lords cannot stop legislation. They used to be able to. 1910, the People's Budgets, the Lords tried to stop it, and that was when the King had to step in, and that's another one of those stages in the shift between monarchy and Lords and Parliament. But slightly unusually, we have so many. In the middle, the large building with the roof is the old Palace of Westminster, and that dates from 1087. So that's Westminster Central Hall. A really nice tour to do is actually a tour of Parliament. At the weekends you can do a tour of Parliament. And I don't know if you've done that before, but it's Pugin inside. And Pugin was a Catholic, and you have this it looks almost like high church inside. He insisted on designing every single thing. The chairs, the tables, the curtains. It's quite stunning inside. Particular Gothic architecture style, they're from the 1800s. What they're copying is the back of Westminster Abbey that was the Henry VII chapel, which was actually the original Perpendicular. The Victorians like Gothic, so it's Pugin and Barry who won the commission doing this. But Pugin does get very complicated. One of the nice museums to go to near you is the Victorian Albert, because the round windows you see there are the only windows they took out. During the Second World War they took those ones out because we knew it was going to be bombed, but actually we lost all the other windows. And when they put them back, we have all the saints there, but they did it wrong, so they all lost their feet. So they're not going anywhere. So we have all the saints without their feet. And on the film, when we saw the coronation, we saw that the Earls and Peers in tiered seats up to the round.
Right.
Here we are approaching Westminster Abbey, the north door. And it's ringing the bells for 4:30. Hi, this is Father Lou with Friends of the Word. We're in the National Gallery here in London. Beautiful, beautiful gallery. This section was recently provided by Prince Charles. Actually, we're in the oldest part of the gallery, featuring some early medieval artworks from throughout Europe. And we're going to take little glimpses as we go through the gallery. And we're with a docent, our guide, and she'll give us some further indications as Jerry expands the gallery. And we see beautiful, iconic medieval paintings. I say iconic because they're made in the icon style, but they're not icons. And the crucifixions are just beautiful. This is St. Francis. And of course, in a few seconds, we're going to see a Duccio, which is one of the most famous medieval artists.
Ike in 1434. Now the man we see here, Giovanni d'Arnolfini, an Italian merchant, very successful, who was living in Bruges at the time of the painting. And this painting is all about showing off. This would have been his Facebook profile picture. It's all about showing off his wealth. So if we look at Arnolfini and his wife, you're seeing they're wearing very rich fur-lined clothing, extensive fabric, rich colours around child John the Baptist, and we know it's John the Baptist by the staff. It's thought that was added later, so there was no confusion between the children.
Yes, because otherwise it would be, you would think Mary would be touching
Yes,
Jesus.
you would, although Jesus has his hand.
Leonardo da Vinci's painting of the Virgin, the rocks. Several of these were made.
And then, of course, we have the angel.
Once someone saw it, they wanted another one. Here we are looking at a Raphael altarpiece at the beautiful London Gallery. This is the newer section of the gallery with the oldest paintings. We see Raphael, depiction of Madonna and baby. She's educating him, looking at the little book. So right, maybe St. Augustine, on the left is St. John the Baptist. Salve Mater Christi, Savior Mother of Christ. Beautiful. Crucifixion, St. John, running on the cross with Mary. This altarpiece was for the burial chapel of San Domenico, Città Castello. And that's St. Jerome, and right hand has a stone, symbol of his auspicious life, living in a cave as a hermit. And of course, Mary Magdalene on the right, and St. John the Evangelist, Mary and Christ, with the angels just singing their praises.
At his throne, he's got the acorns up at the corner of his chair. His family name was Della Rovere, which is the, as you all know, the Italian word for oak. So there's the acorns there. And you see him, 68 years old, sitting, contemplating, looking down, almost as if he didn't want this painting to be painted. And
Sorry.
Hi, this is Father Louis Scurti with Friends of the Word, traveling the world. And today we're in London, and we're going to take a tour and cruise of the Thames. Smile.
Smile. Where are you?
Here we are on the Bateau London. It's a cruise ship. We're cruising up the Thames and then down the Thames, and dinner cruise and entertainment. And John is right here. John arranged this for us in New Jersey, and Jerry has taken the video, so you can't see him. But we are having a good time.
And is
In a
that
few
London
moments-
Bridge behind you?
Which is London? That's the what do they call that? The skyscraper? The scrap? Shard. The shard. The shard. And of course, this way is the Eye, which is a Ferris wheel. And as we go by, we're waiting for the captain of another ship. Or the camera.
This is the only way I'll get in a picture, because Louis never takes a picture of me, because I have to do all the work.
As they
We're
say,
sailing up to Buckingham Palace,
and having tea with the Queen.
down to the House of Parliament,
That's it here.
Windsor.
Yeah.
Taking in the view. Is actually the Bell. And after Parliament is Westminster Abbey. There's the London Eye. before I go, but I just go. A little windy. So we've got that to our protection.
I walk down here in Westminster for the company. But I worked in the same company for 26 years. I walk all around Westminster because I brought the car down and I have a permanent park anywhere in Westminster. It's all right.
Good morning. We're outside Buckingham Palace waiting for tickets to get into the palace. We have reservations, but we got all this paperwork for security, and we're looking forward to getting in to see the royal apartments. More later. There are so many beautiful and free museums open to the public throughout London. We are in the Royal Museum of Victoria and Albert. This is the entrance featuring a Chihuly and of course the medieval, maybe Renaissance altarpiece. This is the entrance. We just took the tour. Wonderful, seeing everything from Bernini to Asian art, European art, church art, secular art throughout the ages. All represented here in a magnificent museum, free and open to the public because of the funds from the great exhibition, which is still supporting the museum, and of course, the donations from the public. And so we're going to stop this little intro, not taking the video throughout the museum, just to give an overview of the collection. Hi, we're outside of Westminster Abbey and of course the street, and here is Parliament, and we're taking a tour of Parliament today. Behind us is Big Ben in the distance. We're going to go into Parliament and check out the beautiful structure. We're on our way. Here we are on the queue entering Parliament, and Big Ben is to our left, and it's almost 4 o'clock. Let's see, sometime later. And the last date I saw is that the entry was 1888, so a lot of this was structured then. But we'll get all the details and information. This is the Great Hall of the Westminster Palace, over 500 years old. Richard III celebrated his inauguration and coronation with a dinner for 3,000 people here in 1400. The entry into Parliament. And this is where the Queen received congratulations marking the 50th anniversary from Parliament. The ceiling was made of wood. It was the largest in Europe at the time. We just concluded Parliament, House of Lords, House of Commons, the Queen's throne, magnificent architecture. It's so private, we couldn't take pictures inside, but anytime we look on television and hear the English people talking and debating in Parliament, we know where they're sitting. It's a tiny little place, basically, but it holds over 600 people, representatives of the community. This is Big Ben. Big Ben chimes every hour, and it is wound 3 times a day. Someone goes up 365 steps to wind it. And here's a little fountain as we come out of Parliament. It's such a beautiful, beautiful experience to know the history that goes back several hundred years, 1,000 years almost, to William the Conqueror coming over in 1066. Great experience, history of London. And we end with GR. Not Gerard Reynolds, George the King. Hi, we're here at Windsor Castle. We took a little trip from London, maybe a half hour, and under the guidance of Paula, we're going to hear some commentary on Windsor Castle, the outside. We'll be inside later.
So, Windsor Castle. Windsor Castle is the oldest castle, royal castle in continuous use anywhere in the world. Built on the orders of William the Conqueror. So the oldest part is 1087, the round tower that we'll see in a moment when we go in. But this is the Queen's favourite home, so this is where the Queen likes to spend most of her time. Numerous monarchs have added and subtracted from the castle, and we'll be seeing that as we go around.
Thank you. Okay, we're inside the castle. This is where the guests who work here live. And this is the round tower. And this is the round tower. That is the tea tower. And this one's called? Okay.
This is what we call the round tower here. So this was the early bit. Today it's where we keep the Royal Archive. The top floor was added on, so it wasn't as tall as that back in 1087, but they've added the top floor on. But again, and the top floor has been added on to give it this older look with the crenellations going round, and also the idea of the murder holes which would come down. Not that you were ever going to drop anything on anyone up there at the stage when that was added, but anyway, it adds to the, it keeps the continuity of the buildings. They would be in the library. Turkey. We do actually have some Alban, who would be a far more natural patron saint. He was the man who stood up against the Romans. And never try to arrest people. Hence we have some weapons.
Visit this way. No, he said visit this way.
No, it's actually, here's the apartments you're going into. These are the state apartments here. And when you get inside, when you get to the square room, which has all the weapons on the wall, that's the closest you're going to be able to get to look out the window into the Queen's apartments, which run all the way down this side. The man on the horse is Charles II, dressed as a Roman, because Romans were seen to be great warriors, so we use them indicatively. And that's the carving of Grinling Gibbons again. And again, you'll see quite a lot of... Oh, here come the soldiers on duty.
Good time. They're coming to greet us.
I'll take you away.
They actually come by every time they see tourists gathered at this gate. No,
Especially for you.
no, yes, right.
You can see the porch over there. That's again so carriages could go in, and they just have their dresses wet to go in. So that leads you up into St George's Hall where you're going to go later on. We'll walk on round this way. And at the very end you can see the guard marching, because that's actually the guard room down there.
Oh, right,
Victoria
at
and
the
the
end.
Catherine,
Way at the end.
so the guard was somewhere to go. I was reading about the garden of this night the other day. Apparently the reason we had the guard this night was Queen Victoria went to visit the guards one day and they were all drunk. So she ordered that for the next 100 years they had to be inspected at 4 o'clock. And apparently that ran out in 1996, but the current Queen decided she quite liked it, which is why we still have it.
Oh, so we had.
Beautiful. And there's the apron we got for Leanne. God save her. Everyone's wearing it, but Leanne will wear it. Horseback?
No, when I said the Queen Elizabeth was actually out when I was keeping granddad. So it's from the back. We've got the River Thames coming through. Eton over the other side. We'll see Eton School a bit further down, much clearer. But this makes this wonderful because you can actually defend. You can see everyone coming. So you're high up. And also you have a water
river?
supply.
Yeah,
Sorry,
through these trees. The North Terrace.
Henry VI. And Henry VI, a very devoutly religious man, originally wanted the school to be much bigger.
That's Eton?
That's Eton
Oh,
over there.
Lord. Oh,
And
that's a school to go
not to be outdone, because this is the War of the Roses, when he's superseded by Edward IV, he built St George's Chapel to the same perpendicular style.
When was Eton founded?
Eton
Around.
was 1461.
It's so good.
Oh yeah, very much.
That's what they had
We've
the
had
great
19
soccer
prime ministers from Eton. David Cameron, our former prime minister, was from Eton, so this really is where
They come from. Yeah, they get
power. And
I like
obviously
to go there
William
and
and
play
Harry
soccer.
went there, and I always felt they didn't have far to come back to see their granny. And sometimes you see his wife out in the garden.
Oh, no. He's the governor.
The House of what?
The governor of the palace. He's in charge when the Queen's not here. With all the wisteria growing. Beautiful. Blue waterfall. And he sees the tower.
I was going to say, for the editors now, what you may want to do is just take a small bottle of water.
Oh,
And
it's
this
new.
is where, no, they spent a lot of money doing this up. This is where Christopher Wren's dad lived, because he was the Dean of Westminster, which is again one of the reasons we think Wren got quite so many royal commissions.
Right,
Because he
right.
probably played with Charles II. Now this is very confusing in terms of history, because this was the original chapel. You see, or the site of the original chapel for the castle, just here. And what happened is after Henry VI built Eton, when we have Edward IV in 1740, he starts rebuilding St George's Chapel. We had some of the rebuilding anyway for when they were the Knights of the Garter, because it becomes a spiritual home. So this becomes a storeroom in many ways, this building, because we start having the grandest St George's Chapel built. And then what happens when we have Cardinal Wolsey and the Tudors He's the one who sets about rebuilding this, which is why we have all the Tudor emblems on the side. But this was the original site of the chapel, much smaller. But you can see the greyhound and the dragon. So the greyhound for Margaret Beaufort and the dragon for the Tudors, the Welsh dragon family. So this is all Cardinal Wolsey's work. And it gets even more confusing because as we come out, this is the Albert Memorial. So this is the space that Queen Victoria chooses to build a memorial to her husband, Prince Albert. He isn't buried in here. This is just a memorial. He is buried at Frognall, which is not far from here, one of the little houses in the Great Park, along with Queen Victoria. So this is quite a complicated history because it's the original, then it becomes a storehouse, then it gets rebuilt by Cardinal Wolsey, and I think he's planning to have his mausoleum in here with that St Paul's we saw his tomb, which we used. But of course he falls out of favour when he can't get Henry VIII to divorce.
Right.
So it's got quite a complex history. Isn't it? We stand back there and see some of the fantastic architecture. So Perpendicular Gothic. This is started, as I say, by Edward IV, and that's because of Eton having been built. He wants to build something grander. It is eventually finished in the reign of Henry VIII, and it's finished mainly during the reign of Henry VII because of a man called Reginald Hemp, and he's the man who gives the money to finish it. Therefore, inside what we're going to see are lots of his coat of arms, which are hemp brays. And a hemp bray was the tool you used to comb hemp to get the bubbles out of it. So his money came from the wool industry, as was the wealth of Britain. We'll see, they look like a cutthroat razor. So there's 175 of them inside, everywhere. But we have the royal beasts along the top. They were actually fairly new because they were taken down and they've been put back. And they're holding lightning conductors. So they have a dual focus there, so just in case lightning ever strikes the building. And then we have our monarchs along the side. Henry VIII at the far end. So it goes from Edward IV to Henry VIII.
We were surprised yesterday. One last view of Windsor Castle.
So we've come to the end of a beautiful tour of Windsor Castle. All aspects of it, the chapel, the main staterooms, the dining room, that seats 600 people with their silverware and platters measured in place, and the royal, everything. Royal tombs, Henry VIII's tomb, but he's not buried here. Here's an overview of Windsor taken from the station. And if you're quiet in the distance, you hear the chiming of the bells. It's noon. And we look closer, we see the residence homes for people who live in the area. And now we're going down to the station.
The swans are owned by the Queen.
Oh, really?
You are not allowed to kill a swan. It's a crime to kill a swan or to eat a swan. And what happens is once a year in July we have something called swan upping, where two of the livery companies from the City of London, the Dyers and the Vintners, get boats and they will get the watermen to row them down the Thames, and what they're doing is counting the swans for the Queen.
Oh.
So that we know exactly how many she owns, and if you look on their legs you will see little rings. If they have 2 rings they belong to the Dyers, 1 ring they belong to the Vintners, and no rings they belong to the Queen. But no one is allowed to kill a swan, but they count all the signets, all the new signets, so they actually do a count, and you can see them literally corralling the swans in to count.
That's what your tax money's going to.
Well spent, clearly.
Swan upping.
I think it's good. It is traditional. We have some bread, you'll have a lot of swans.
Look, right. These are nice family boats. Windsor Great Park, overlooking the back of Windsor. Oh, back. Oh, where the Queen rides, of course.
So this, when the Queen arrives, she'll come from London and she'll come down here and up into the castle. So this was the area opposite where you went into the state apartments.
Okay.
And then when she's here on a Sunday, she will come out, and the church she goes to is in Windsor Great Park. So she goes to a little church there. Yeah, she goes with Bentley. Range Rover. But this used to be all elm trees, but we had Dutch elm disease, so we lost all the elm trees. But this is where you can come chestnutting for sweet chestnuts.
Oh, nice.
So I tend to come here and forage for sweet chestnuts.
You can come here for sweet chestnuts.
Sweet chestnuts? Does she serve them?
We have horse chestnut trees here, lots of horse chestnut trees. But there's a pub there where all the horse people and horses do go, so they have hanging baskets with hay in.
Oh, for the horses. Oh.
It's your birthday cup of tea.